All right, I started with the offense earlier this week. Let's flip it around and look at a rough defensive depth chart for the Georgia Bulldogs heading into the 2025 season. Spring practice has been wrapped up. G-Day is wrapped up. Georgia just added a couple of transfers to its defensive unit. I'm not exactly sure where they're going to be placed in this depth chart. I've got an idea for where one of them is going to be, though. I think that one of them is going to be an impact guy. I've got a pretty solid idea of who's starting for the Georgia Bulldogs, kind of what the depth looks like behind these guys. Maybe a couple of freshmen crack the lineup, who knows? But this is a younger defense, and go to dogpost.com if you want to see the written version of this. Ryan Curley from Dogpost. Let's not waste any more time. Defensive end. Let's look at the defensive line. We'll work from the first unit. We'll go all the way back, and we'll end with the secondary. But looking at defensive end, Michael Williams is gone. Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins is gone. Who are going to be those guys for Georgia this year? I think that your top candidate is redshirt freshman Joseph Jonah Ajonye. Didn't play much last year, had a season-ending injury. Kind of dealt with a little bit of an injury this spring, but he played. He started at G-Day, and I think that he's kind of next in line to play that Michael Williams, Trayvon Walker type of role as a versatile defensive end, defensive lineman. He's 6'4", north of 260. He's got that frame kind of with him. I think you'll see another redshirt freshman in Justin Green. I think that he's going to get time on this defensive line, kind of playing a similar role, defensive end. I think that when you look past that, they've got other guys, and it kind of Georgia's defensive line is going to be versatile. They're going to move guys around. Some guys are going to kind of be playing inside and out, and I think that people might look at Nnamdi Ogboko or Xavier McLeod. Those are more interior guys. I'm thinking about guys on the outside. Behind those two, I'm not 100% sure. I think that J.J. Hain, a true freshman, I think he's a little bit more of an inside guy, but might play that defensive end role. But behind Justin Green and Joseph Ajonye, who I think are kind of on track to be starters for this Georgia defense, I think true freshmen Isaiah Gibson and Darren Ikenagbon. Now, you can classify them as outside linebackers too, but these are guys with big frames. They can play that true defensive end role as well. I think that might be a way that they fight to get on the field. I think between those four, they have capable ends and edge rushers in those guys. Isaiah Gibson, I think a little bit more of a traditional outside linebacker. Darren Ikenagbon, a little bit bigger than him. I think they have versatile roles ahead as Georgia Bulldogs. And I think that, look, this is one of the most unproven units. You'll see that in the outside linebacker room as well. But kind of at the front of this defense, it's unproven. Moving along, going inside the defensive line, defensive tackle, I think you've got two starters, all right, whether they're on the field at every snap together or not. Georgia's going to rotate at this position as well. Inside, I think Christian Miller is your number one guy, was limited this spring, did not see him at G-Day. He is the oldest and the most experienced player in Georgia's defensive front. Christian Miller, redshirt junior, I think he's a starter. I think he's played the most snaps out of all these guys, and he was around for a national championship. He's been a part of that. He's seen that. Jordan Hall, it's his turn too. Hall is going to be a starter with him as a defensive tackle. I think those are your top two guys on the interior defensive line. Jordan Hall, big-time five-star recruit from that 2023 class. He's entering his junior year. A little healthier than he's been, right? Injury-riddled career so far at Georgia. Hasn't played a ton. Played a little bit in 2022. Played some last season. Now he's going to be relied upon as a guy that is going to be an impact player on the interior defensive line. I think between him and Christian Miller, that's kind of your starting duo there. Last year was Warren Brinson and Nazir Stackhouse. Behind them, I think you've got some depth. I think that they've got, it's inexperience, but I think they have more depth at defensive tackle than they do at end. You got Nnamdi Ogboko. I think he's going to rotate in, a redshirt freshman. Xavier McLeod, former South Carolina transfer. He's a redshirt sophomore. I think he rotates in with those starters. Behind those guys, they've got even more depth. And it kind of starts with true freshman and bona fide five-star Elijah Griffin, who has been getting early comparisons to Jalen Carter. He's strong, he's fast, and if he is what people think he is, he's going to rotate in with all the aforementioned guys. You've got redshirt freshman Jordan Thomas. redshirt freshman Nazir Johnson. Miami transfer Josh Horton. I think, he adds more depth to that defensive tackle position. I don't know where he falls on this depth chart, but I have a good idea that Miller, Jordan Hall, Ogboko, and McLeod are going to rotate in, and the rest of these guys are going to add depth. A little bit more experience, but not quite as experienced as some of these other groups. But next is the outside linebackers, right? Edge rushers. Not as experienced again. This is also a group that Georgia just brought a transfer into. But I think your number one guy is Gabe Harris Jr. He is a junior. He did not play a G-Day. He limited this spring, injured. I think your second guy, this is kind of bold of me, but if you go and look at our story version of this, and you know what I'll do is I will bring that up for you here. Let's see if I can bring this up for you on the screen. But I think that Elo Modozi, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. We're going to get that right. But Modozi, I think, has an opportunity to be a starter opposite of Gabe Harris. I think that he's got a chance to do that. Oh, here we go. Modozi, I think you get Quintavious Johnson. This is just a little look into dogpost.com. You see the story here, right? I got the depth chart everywhere. Go and check out the story version of this. But looking at the outside linebackers, Gabe Harris, transfer Elo Modozi. I think Quintavious Johnson will fight as a starter, but I think they brought in Modozi for a reason. And if you go and look at what Kirby Smart said this spring, he talked about how he didn't think Quintavious Johnson was where he needed to be. Now, he was a starter at G-Day alongside Chris Jones, a redshirt freshman who I think adds depth for them at the outside linebacker position. But this is an inexperienced group, with Gabe Harris being the most experienced, playing some snaps last year. Not as much as his true freshman season. But I think Harris and Modozi can end up being the starters, and I think that's part of why they brought the 6.5 sack man from last season from Army in. Quintavious Johnson and Chris Jones providing depth. A little bit of a prediction at this point. The rest of the stuff here, I'm telling you, is kind of what it is. Some of it's a projection. Some of it's not. Inside linebackers. This is the unit I think Georgia fans need not to be concerned about, right? This is the most experienced and the most talented group. You got your Mike, you got your money, right? You got your on-ball and you got your off-ball linebackers. C.J. Allen is starting. He's the Mike. Raylan Wilson is the money. Those are just different. There's different terms for it. But Allen and Wilson are your starters. Behind them is Justin Williams and Chris Cole, right? So you got Allen and Williams and Chris Cole. Chris Cole played a good bit last season, right? Smile London was out. He was a true freshman last season who rotated in, and he is kind of that more versatile. They like the pass rushing ability of him as well, can play outside linebacker as well. You might see that with how much depth there is in this room and lack of depth in the other room. Behind them, you've got a couple true freshmen in A.J. Krua and Zayden Walker, right? They got juniors, they got sophomores, and they got freshmen. They've got the linebackers filled up for the next few years. It is a very talented position that Georgia fans do not need to worry about being good. At secondary, cornerback. Okay, Dalen Everett's a starter. At the moment, I think Daniel Harris is the starter. I think it's his job to, I think he's just ahead, all right? Ellis Robinson, major cornerback recruit from the 24 class. His fellow 24 signee, DeMello Jones. Those guys are fighting with Daniel Harris to be one of the starting corners. If you base it off of G-Day, Harris has the job. If you base it off the other scrimmages, it might be somebody else. DeMello Jones played more with the first team than Ellis Robinson did. Ellis Robinson played with the second team more. I don't know. I think it's Daniel Harris for now. He's the older guy out of those three, but there is a competition for cornerback too. Behind all those guys, you got Andre Evans, dealt with an injury, but he adds them some depth at corner, a guy who may see some playing time. At the star position, the nickelback position, right? Nickel corner, safety, whatever you want to call it. Georgia calls it the star. Janelle Aguero looks to be the guy there. That was pretty obvious at G-Day. He's roped in there last season, and I think he's their next man up at the star position. Behind them, they brought in Adrian Maddox. They've got Kyron Jones. Adrian Maddox, a guy, might fight for playing time along with another safety in Jaden Harris. I'm not exactly sure where these transfer guys are going to be fit in. It looks like Zion Branch, another transfer safety from USC, is going to be a strong safety, but like I said, it looks like Janelle Aguero is your number one star. At free safety, it's KJ Bolden. He's your starter. No questions asked. I think behind him, you've got Jayden Harris and Adrian Maddox to choose from. Now, the thing about all these guys is they're versatile and you could put them in different spots, but it looks like right now Ja'Cory Thomas, opposite safety spot of KJ Bolden, looks like he's your starter with Zion Branch kind of behind him in the strong safety position. And then they've got a true freshman in Todd Robinson that provides them extra depth. That's kind of a rough depth chart for Georgia's defense. Make sure you're going to dogpost.com and looking at the full story. Not as experienced as last year's defense. Now, a defense that regressed, will it regress again with less experience? We have to find that out, but this is a rough lineup. And I think most of what I said will probably end up being starters. Maybe a couple of guys fight for jobs that I wasn't aware of. Thanks for watching.